Hey everybody, it's Rob here. Today I want to talk about the best Uber uniques for Season 4 and also how to farm them pretty comfortable because there's been many changes made to the game, how you get Resplendent Sparks, and there's also a new Uber unique in the house here, Tyrael's Might. So this is the Uber Barb. It's not really a build, but casuals hate this one because this one is using 6 Uber uniques. So I have some good news for those of you who don't really like to farm Uber Uniques. There are actually 2 top builds in the game for Season 4 that don't require any Uber Uniques. And this is the best build in the game, Minion Necromancer. You can see here the Golem and also the Skeleton version. You don't need a single Uber Unit, not even a Shaco. And this is a God tier build. And the main reason is because Shaco pretty much goes on every build, but not on this one. Because you're not really benefiting much from getting the ranks here, because your skeletons and your golems is your main DPS usually, and you don't really get anything from that, and you don't get anything from the ranks, and you have very, very good aspects here that are incredibly powerful, like hulking or occult domination, which actually increase the number that you get, so you can't really give anything up to get a Shaco. So a Harlequin's Crest Shaco on the Golem Necromancer is not useful, and in fact this build, best build in the game, and you don't need any uniques, not even Uber uniques, you don't need any uniques. And then there is the Bash Barb. This is also an A tier build here, as you may have seen from my tier list. This is looking very solid in A tier right here. And you also don't need a single Uber unique for this one to work. You can use Harlequin's Crest, but I think for my testing, having the Might aspect, you see it's the same damage reduction as the Harlequin's Crest. And then you're really thinking about, like, you're losing cooldown because Shaco has only 7 base, while a normal helm has 8, and you can upgrade it to more cooldown. You have ranks to Steelgrass, which you're going to be using to pull all the time, and this is reducing the cooldown tremendously. You also get Challenging Shout cooldown reduction and crowd control duration, which is actually going to buff the damage reduction uptime on your Challenging Shout. You can use the 4 ranks to bash, kind of to your advantage. But I think especially starting out, the Shaco is completely not necessary and it's actually going to give you less survivability. And I'm not even sure if I'm going to be changing to the Shaco version if I have it. Because, yeah, aspect of Might with this like 5 affixes that are very, very powerful and have more cooldown reduction plus the skill ranks are actually outshining the Shaco for me. So there you have 2 top builds that don't require Uber Uniques at all. Now there's many more builds that work without Uber Uniques. But most of these builds, it's a no-brainer to take a Shaco. Like on the Sorc builds, for example, like you always want a Shaco. But on these builds, it actually works without it. And then I kind of made like a tier list here, trying to rank them. So first, S tier, obviously, we have the Harlequin's Crest. This basically is useful for almost all builds, maybe besides the 2 or 3 builds that I listed here. And this is actually just because it just has like overwhelmingly good stats. But then again, you're missing some cooldown reduction here because they haven't buffed this to 8%, it's still at 7. Next on the tier list here is in A tier, we have Starless Skies. I think this is actually, on average, the second best Uber unique. And this ring, while it has a bit of low additive stats, it has this amazing 1.4 multiplier to everything. And it also reduces your resource costs by 40%. And this is super useful for the resource-hungry builds. And I think this is going to be a very much used ring, especially on Barb these seasons around. Like when you're like spending a lot of fury with your double swing and stuff, with Dust Devils and stuff, this ring really, really shines. Then we have the Grandfather. This one is only really good on Barb. Like that's why it's 80, and it's also not used in all the Barb builds. Like you guys can see, if in the Bash Barb, the Grandfather is also not better than the usual aspects here, because you are not only giving up on the legendary aspect, which is pretty good in generator builds. You see here 60% attack speed, but you're also giving up on the tempering affixes. And you can get on a 2-hander 250 additive. You can get with this bash cleave, you basically this is like where your damage is coming from. So it's like very hard to give this up, and it's not useful even in all the Barb builds. On the Necromancer, I find it completely useless. So Grandfather is still great for some builds like Hoda or Deathblow or these kind of builds, but overall it lost a lot of power potential because in general the normal items, like normal legendary items, have come up so much in power with the item rework. Then we got the Doombringer here. This one basically allows you to get insane toughness, especially with the new way the life percent is scaling multiplicatively, also with the maximum life roll here that you can get on basically any gear. Like you take anything here, and you can get maximum life on basically every piece of gear that you want. So this is all a multiplier, and Doombringer, I think when you master work it, it actually doubles your life. It gives you 100% bonus life as a multiplier, X. So if you have 50k life, you equip Doombringer, you have 100k life. On top of this, it also has damage reduction. But it's a super defensive choice. It has no offensive capabilities here in comparison to a normal weapon. So that's why most builds are not really going to use it, unless the pit becomes really, really hard and we need damage reduction. But it looks like they're actually nerfing the amount of damage that we take. The same story here goes with Melted Heart. So it's a super cool amulet. Damage reduction is very hard to come by now. But it looks like the game is still not that hard that you will need this. And I mean, this might change. We'll see how the final patch and the pit will turn out. So there is a way where we need the Melted Heart if they increase the difficulty of the pit tremendously. We will see this when the game launches. But overall, it's still a very solid choice. Definitely keep this. Don't salvage it. Keep this in your bag. Shall you find it? Because who knows how hard the pit will be. It also gives 60 maximum resources, which can be combined very cool with like some gear, especially on Barb. You can combine it with Ramalabi's Opus, Magnus Opus here for extra DPS and stuff. There are some pretty cool combinations, and if I find it, we'll try to make a somewhat immortal Barb build. We'll see. Especially Thorn's Barb comes to mind, where you can like scale it, I think, really well, and you're going to be very, very tanky with the Thorn's Barb, which is actually an A-tier build. Then we have the Aharian Spear of Lycander. So Barb is too stupid to wield this weapon, so we had to make a Sorc here. And this one might be one of the potential items that actually can break the end game in a way, because you are getting random pylon effects, and this can help you out a ton in the pit runs. Because the way that pylons work in Diablo 4 is that they scale off the monster level. So the higher the monster level is, the more damage your Conduit, your Blast Wave, your Artillery Shrine are going to do. And there is a small chance, and hopefully Blizzard has thought of this, and this is not going to be the case, but there is a small chance, this is like S-tier Giga busted, because it might just one-shot the boss in Pit 200. If it keeps scaling like that, and you just need to get lucky, and it's going to be a bit of a problem, because only two builds, two classes, Sorc and Druid, in the entire game can even carry this weapon. So there is a big potential here. Like, usually I would have put this like in B tier maybe, but with this potential here, with Conduit, Blast Wave, Artillery one-shotting the boss, it might actually become S tier if the pit gets really hard. Then we have the new Uber Unique here in B tier, which is Tyrell's Might. You might have seen some videos. I actually found this one on the PTR. I've been testing it. It's a pretty cool item, but it also has a very limited use case, which is pretty much for speedruns, because it basically works whenever you use any skill at full life. It triggers like an Artillery Shrine proc, like there's arrows shooting everywhere. But the problem is, these arrows do a fixed amount of damage. They do not scale. They do not scale like a normal Artillery Shrine would, but they just scale normally. I wanted to I think I have a clip. Let me show you the clip here really quick. So this is how it looks like. Sorry about that. No twisters needed anymore. Like if I equip my weapons, it spawns the twisters. So this is no Artillery Shrine. We don't have any shrine. This is just the Tyrell's Might. This build doesn't even need it anymore. It's pretty cool for farming the Hell Tides and stuff. It's like probably the best item for speed farming, especially if you want to play like a Whirlwind Barb or something. Like you can proc it like there's no tomorrow just using this item, and it's perma Artillery Shrine in that sense. But for any hard content, it's not really that useful. And if I find it early on, I'll use it. But yeah, it's not going to be my favorite find, let's say. I'd rather get some other items, but we'll see. I mean, like these could be like around the same tier here. Potentially even with Doombringer. If you find it early on, I think it's still going to be very, very good. But for the late game, not so much use case, I think, because again, it's a flat damage, not scaling with the monster level. And then last here, I don't see any use case for this uber unique, but you let me know in the comments. It's the Andariel's Visage. And sadly, and this is the only uber unique. If I find it, I will just salvage it instantly to get the spark. Because there's not really any use case. Like, first of all, it doesn't have cooldown reduction, which a helm absolutely needs, in my opinion. It has this lifesteal, like you get some nice recovery, but the problem is never like healing in Diablo. Like you most of the time you get one shot. Like you either live or you're one shot. Like you never really have a recovery problem, at least not in builds that I play. But let me know in the comments below, like if you see any good use case for Andariel. Like I know if I find Andariels, I'll probably salvage it because, and this is the big change here, they're actually gonna make a couple guaranteed resplendent sparks drop. If you don't know about this, with this item you can basically craft an uber unique. If you have 4 of these sparks, you get an uber unique. And yeah, if I would find an Andariel's, I would just salvage it, so I have 1 spark. And then there are 3 more ways to get sparks in the season. So the 3s are listed here. So kill Uber Lilith. Just basically kill not the story version, just normal Lilith in the end game mode. Then you need to kill any of the new tormented level 200 bosses. And you need to finish the final chapter of the Iron Wolf questline in season. So this is gonna give you 1 spark each. And then if you find an Andariel's Visage, you salvage the Andariel's Visage, then you have 4 sparks. And then you can choose any uber unique that you want. I think, spoiler alert, most people will actually choose the Shako. Yeah, this guy, I think he was using some developer tools to get 203 resplendent sparks. Like he could actually craft 50 uber uniques of this. This guy was blasting for sure. But yeah, that is how it looks like. So you get the 3 sparks, and then if you start farming those bosses, you get any uber unique. You can just salvage it and you get any of your choice, basically. If you get a bad one that you don't want, plus these 3, like you get any uber unique of your choice. You can just craft it. So it's gonna be pretty cool. I mean, I would have loved if they, I don't know, like added a 4th here. Kill Nightmare Dungeon, or clear Nightmare Dungeon 100. But this doesn't exist. I think this would be a W if they add this. So you get 4 sparks to craft 1 uber unique of your choice per season, but it's not a thing. So you get 3, and then the first uber unique that you find, if you don't like it, you can basically salvage it and then craft any uber unique of your choice. And who knows, we'll be farming a lot because they added new tormented bosses, and the new level 200 tormented bosses cost 3 times more materials, but they give you 5 times more loot. So you always want to be trying to farm the new tormented uber bosses. They are going to be a bit harder to kill, but they are going to be very, very worth it to just in terms of efficiency for uber uniques. And I can say, I think with great confidence, if you have never found an uber unique in this game, I think this is the season where you're due. Like you're going to get one this season. I think I'm not saying it's easy, but it has never been easier to get uber uniques in season 4. So May 14th, guys, just a couple of days left. I hope you're going to be right there with us, playing, enjoying the game, leveling, farming in the Helltide, and then getting our hands on some of these juicy uber uniques. And who knows, maybe we'll build the Uber Barb. Hope you enjoyed the video, my friends. Enjoy season. GG. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.